So good evening to all the attendees who are attending the webinar today. We'll be covering two major topics. We'll be talking about the overview and evolution of sustainability of ESG. And we'll also be talking about the role of chartered accountants. As we are all aware, the ESG and sustainability in the modern world has been a hot topic amongst corporations. Sustainability has become even more important for companies in order for us to fulfill the goals as have been laid down by the United Nations through the UN SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals and its aim of achieving our targets by 2030. These objectives, however, can be met only if we work together as a task force and each one of us takes up responsibilities towards each of the goals that have been laid down. Globally, the need for such action has arisen, and all corporates have been looked at by investors and stakeholders at large to cater to these social responsibilities. Such responsibilities are now expected to be reported to the stakeholders via sustainability reporting for companies globally. Until last year, most Indian companies reported their sustainability performances through international reporting platforms such as GRI. However, with SEBI coming into the picture with the BRSR, Indian companies are now switching to the BRSR standards. They look to ensure that sustainability is not a mere reporting responsibility, but companies and the industry at large has to look to practice this in the day-to-day operations. With this recent evolution and compliance requirements being strengthened, for Indian companies, the role of chartered accountants has become even more significant. Today, we will be getting into further details of how the ESG and sustainability reporting requirements have strengthened and evolved over the years, and also what role chartered accountants play in this ever-evolving reporting, both from an assurance perspective as well as an industry perspective. To discuss these topics and shed light on them, we have some esteemed panelists. Firstly, we have the chairperson of the SRSV committee, CA Preeti Salva ma'am. To give you a profile background on her, she is a fellow member of the ICI with more than 22 years of rich experience in multiple areas such as accounting, auditing, sustainability, corporate governance, CSR, and risk management. She is also a central council member of the ICI and a chairperson of the Women Members Empowerment Committee. She has represented ICI on multiple forums in and outside India, such as the SAFA Committee on Sustainability Reporting. Ma'am, I would like to thank you for being a part of the webinar today, and I would like to request you for introductory remarks for us to commence the session.
Thank you, Aman, and for being here and being the first moderator for the first webinar. And today, friends, we are starting this webinar series, and this will be on every fortnightly basis, every Thursday evening. And to begin with, let me also appreciate our founder chairman of Sustainability Reporting Standard Board, CA Sanjeev Kumar Singhal, who is from Delhi North area. And friends, let me tell all of you that the Sustainability Board in India is the pioneer in the world. Before 3 years, 3.5 years, no one was knowing anything about sustainability. And this is when even I was not in the council at that time. I was at the Western region. And at that time, Sanjeev Bhai has thought of having the sustainability board in ICAI. And very respectfully, his idea was accepted. And then, since then, the sustainability board is working very hard under his leadership. The board has started doing the work in this area. So we have started with that assurance engagements have come out. So 3400, 3410, that is on disclosures and greenhouse gas emission. Further, various publications have come out in last 3 years. Again, we have also started at that time, sir has started sustainability awards, and since 3 years these awards are going on, and these are domestic as well as international who are the best in the reporting. Awards are given for the best reports in various areas in SDGs. This is the evaluation of sustainability board. So we have a lot of work relating to sustainability in here at ICAI, working very closely with SEBI. We have given the back testing of reporting last year under his leadership, and also come out with sustainability reporting maturity model version 2, which will tell it is available on the website of the ICAI, which will tell if you put up the figures into the about the companies, it will tell or at what level the company is into sustainability arena. So this is the whole work. The session will go on and on for 2 years if we tell only about the work in last 3 years. So after completion of 3 years of Sanju Bhai as a chairman, the president this year has given me this role of chairing the sustainability reporting standard board. However, I am very small, I can say, in this for this role, and it is possible only because of the support of Sanju Bhai and the Raj Bhai, who is the first speaker of the today's webinar, which we are starting, who is always supporting at all level, and various other committee members, board members who are supporting at all level. Further, friends, we have our honorable president sir and vice president sir and immediate past president sir also. I cannot forget the contribution from all of them who are supporting the initiative of sustainability reporting standard board at all levels. Last year, we have hosted the World Congress, and that was the first World Congress in the world which was carbon neutral. Further, friends, we have come out with Institute of Social Auditors of India, and very swiftly we have formed that, and which is regulating the social audits. We have developed social audit standards, and I can't forget the efforts what we did last year, day and night. We have worked to come out with the social audit standards in no time with all the credentials. And this is how we have worked together. It is our endeavor to serve the best to our members. And we are trying hard that all this non-financial reporting, the assurance comes to our members, and we are regularly interacting with SEBI for that purpose also. And these are the broad things which Sustainability Reporting Standard Board is doing. We had various, not only regularly coordinating with various regulators, responding to their concept papers, whether SEBI or RBI or IFSCA at various levels, but also serving the members by organizing various programs, roundtables in physical form, and now we are starting with webinars, online mode. So with these words, I really thank Sanju Bhai to be part of this board as a founder chairman, and conceptualizing this idea for having this board at ICAI. And I really thank Raj Bhai, who is always available and supporting to institute in various ways, and specifically to Sustainability Reporting Standard Board, and Aman and all the committee, all the sustainability board members. And I am sure today's topic, which is very important topic, the evaluation of sustainability and the role of chartered accountants, the Rajbhai will take us through the journey of that. But before Rajbhai takes, this 2 hours will be very, very much value added to all of you friends. And with these words, I once again welcome all of you. If you have friends, if you have any suggestions, feel free to connect to us, me or Sanju Bhai, and it will be there. We ensure that we always do that, whatever suggestions are given by you, all of you. With these words, I once again welcome all of you, and over to Aman.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words. So next on the panel, we also have the vice chairperson of the SRSB committee, who was also the founding chairperson of the committee, CA Sanjeev Singhal sir. He is a fellow member of the ICI with over 24 years of experience. He is a member of the Central Council and the chairman of the AASB, or the Auditing and Insurance Standards Board. He is a member of the NAFRA as well, who has around 21 books published in his name with leading publishers. He has also provided valuable contributions to several research papers in leading journals and ICI publications. Sir, thank you for being a part of this webinar. And we would really
love chairing the UNCTAD.
He's chairing the UNCTAD as well. Sir, thank you so much for being a part of this webinar, and we would love to hear some words from you.
Thank you, Aman. Thank you. Thank you so much for seeing you on this very first webinar. I had the pleasure of working with your father when we worked in the same firm. So it is indeed a pleasure. And thanks to Preeti Ben, the chairperson of the Sustainability Board, who is ably leading this board. And, with Preeti Ben, we brought gender equality to the board when she came last year. And this year, we swapped our position. So she is the chairperson and I'm her deputy, and I'm happy to be the deputy. The responsibility shifts to Preeti Ben, and her leadership has brought the Midas touch. Whether it is social audit standard or other things which were pending last year. When she joined as a vice chairperson, it could see the reality, and it could see the light of the day. And she has been shouldering this responsibility very, very passionately. She has sustainability in her mind, at the top of her mind, and together we are trying to build a healthier, happier, and safer planet. With the added responsibility of leading the global forum of UNCTT ISAR, we are able to drive the global agenda. And I'm also happy to share that we'll be playing a leading role in the World Investment Forum, which will be held in Abu Dhabi from October 16th to October 20th, and then followed by the COP28. So friends, Sustainability Board has made its mark, and now on an entirely different path, doing the research with UNDP and trying to have carbon neutral ICAI, developing a roadmap for next 25 years for ICAI for being net zero by 2049, 21 year ahead of India's target, which is 2070, and giving a different shape to the awards between various kind of programs and working with the national and international agencies. Preeti Ben herself leads the SAFA front. She's also the member of the International Sustainability Standards Advisory Forum of the ISSB. So this way, Institute is playing a role, whether it is the national level of SEBI or Ministry of Corporate Affairs or Niti Aayog or UNDP, or the international role at the UNCTAD or the Sustainability Standard Advisory Forum. And Rajbhai has always been very, very supportive right from the first year. Probably he is the most sustainable of all the 4 panelists present today. Consumes the least resources, which is again one of the sustainable development goal, responsible consumption and production. So I'm sure that with this series, which has been started this year, members will be immensely benefited. And even if, the carbon emission of the country reduces by 0.1%, we'll feel happy that we have contributed to this cause, because I think Rajbhai may also be talking about the per capita carbon emission. So in its endeavor, ICI is doing its best. This program is being held on a virtual mode. Itself is a step towards reduction of carbon emission. And recently we have also said that we want to develop a risk control metrics for ESG. So I invite all the learned participants, if they can contribute to the inventory of what can go wrong and the mitigating controls in this regard, we'll be really thankful to you. So thank you very much for a very patient hearing. And thanks to Preeti Ben for organizing this program, and to Aman for being the host, and to Rajbhai for being the guest speaker. Thank you, and back to you, Preeti Ben.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words. So also with us today, we have a guest speaker, Mr. Raj Mulik, sir, who is also a fellow member of the ICI, a CMA holder, and also holds a degree of emerging CFO from Stanford University. His experience spans over 22 years. in areas of strategic financial planning, IGAP, Ind AS, M&A, tax planning in multiple industries across companies. Presently, Mr. Raj is Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Account Officer with Reliance Industries Limited, which is one of the top 100 companies of the Fortune Global 500. He's also a member of the ASB, which is the Account Standards Board with the ICI. So thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. We would love to get your opinions firstly on what you feel about the evolution of ESG and sustainability reporting, and why is it so important for the companies to present it as a part of its reporting to stakeholders. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Aman. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Sanjeev ji. I mean, last year we worked under leadership, and I can tell what an incredible leadership you have shown, and you have transformed this committee and brought it to a level where it is now. And thanks, Preeti Madam, for continuing leadership and the continuing impetus that you have given. And I'm sure that this committee will and ICI will provide play a leadership role for India, and India is expected to play leadership across the world. So we are a part of the world that way. So thank you, ICI, for inviting me for the first webinar. I mean, it may be a historic moment because the first webinar and I being the speaker, it gives me a lot of honor, and I'm really privileged to be part of this. So I mean, Madam told and Sanjeev told that I can contribute. Actually, it's my pleasure to contribute. I enjoy contributing, and I hope I'll keep on contributing. So friends, I mean, ESG is like buzzword. So everywhere, if you go in the newspaper, TV, in the TV, lot of presentations, lot of sessions that we take on ESG. So today I thought make it slightly different. Instead of being a very theoretical exercise, what I thought is that instead of trying to say what ESG is, what is advantage, what is disadvantage, how do you go forward, I've selected 10 important concepts or 10 important trends. So I will discuss those trends, and I believe that if you know those 10 concepts or 10 trends, then you will have a broad idea of ESGs, not only in India, but across the globe. And that will definitely not make you absolutely give you mastery of the subject, but it will help you to appreciate and understand, and it will help you to further go and say, do a self-learning. It will form a base so that we can go ahead. Yeah. And friends, I can tell you one thing. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have joined. You will have a busy schedule. You have audit, you have tax, you have annual report, etc. SEBI is breathing at our neck with regulatory compliances. All are busy, and if you have come out of your taken time out of busy schedule, but I can assure you, this is not a waste of time. It is something you are investing in your career. And towards the end of the presentation, I have a session which will tell you why ESG is very important to chartered accountants. Yes, you've heard it right. ESG important to chartered accountants. Wherever I go to speak in many places, still people ask me, please chartered accountants, we are busy with accounts, audit, tax, GST, so many things. Why this new animal ESG? And I keep on telling you, if you make friends with new animal, tame these new animals, your future is yours. So I will explain you that. Have some patience towards the end. We'll have that. So let me try and upload my presentation. I put my screen so that we can go ahead. Can you see my presentation now?
Yes, visible. Yes, Rajbhai, visible.
Okay, fine. Just 1 minute. Yeah, okay, fine. So there are so many terms: sustainability, sustainable development, circular economy, regenerative economy, environmentalism, corporate social investment, in environment, health, safety, EHS, circularity, social responsibility, ESG. Of course, ESG is there, and many others. And all the terms are very confusing. I mean, but trust me, the spirit of all the terms is same. What the term wants to convey is more or less the same. There are a lot of overlapping between each of the terms. So with this, I would go to my first point or first trending concept. Before going deep dive or taking a deep dive into ESG, what is ESG and why it is important? What is sustainability? What is this different from? How is sustainability different from circular economy? Okay, how is sustainability different from EHS? Okay, that's health, environment, and safety. HSE, health, environment, safety. Okay, let me tell you that why ESG is called ESG and ESG is not called sustainability. That is a long story. I will share with you. First of all, what does ESG stands for? E stands for environment, S stands for social, and G stands for governance. It is very simple. So ESG stands for the 3 letters: E for environment, S for social, and G for governance. Environment, if you ask anyone of what is environment, it is very simple. How much emission that you do? People are very bothered about emission these days. Well, there is to bother. Water use. Are you using water? Are you recycling water? What are your wastage water? Are you processing the wastage water before you are discharging it to the environment? These are all environmental issues. Waste generation, recycling. We all know that rivers like Jamuna, Ganga, etc. A lot of industry is throwing a lot of waste in those rivers, and those rivers are anyway polluted. Well, that is one thing. You may not be aware that there are strict guidelines across industries of the waste that generate and the processing of the waste and the categorization of waste. You may not be doing the waste need to categorize at the chemical waste, solid waste, then digital waste, etc. And each waste has a separate guidelines for each waste of treatment and how to get disposed of. So these are part of environment. Energy and emissions, well, that is the buzzword. Everyone is speaking of carbon emissions, energy emission. All these things are part of environment. Social is, again, it is a term we need not define. People broadly understand these terms. If from the company's perspective, employee is one of the very important stakeholders, and employee forms part of the social. So how do you treat your employee? How do you manage their employee? What is the gender ratio? What kind of leave you give to the employees? Okay, all these things, and what is the environment that you give to the employees? All this part of social. Then you set up a plant in the area. Okay, so are you concerned only if your plant, all the people around the area? Are you taking care of people around the area? That is also part of social, which is part of communities. Your customers. Okay, it is you build a relationship with your customers. It is not that you sell your goods to a customer. That's it. How do you treat your customers? It's part of social. Supply chain management is very, very important. Like you go to retail industry, supply chain management is very, very important. That's the heart of retail. How you bring the goods in the stores and how you deliver the goods from the stores to other customers. Well, so your supply chain management, how do you do the supply chain management? It's part of social. Governance. In India, we understand governance by board composition, board independence, functional and experience. How do you track your track or monitor the target that you set? How you control those? What are the disclosures to the shareholders and other investors and other compliance requirement and other controversy that checks that in? So part of governance. So basically, when you speak of ESG, remember environment, social, and governance. Some of you must have a question in mind. Till now, I have been thinking of sustainability. Now, this gentleman has come up with a new term called ESG. Why is ESG and what's the difference of sustainability? Let me tell you, and with absolute clarity, per se, sustainability and ESG is no different. It is all the same. Previously, sustainability was being used by everyone, but later, I think 3-4 years back, ESG gained predominance because I think ESG defines it well. When you speak of sustainability, the mindset of people was to only think of emissions and nothing else. But ESG is much broader term than that. It has environment, it has social, it has governance. Sustainability actually meant all those three also, but the definition itself, from the mindset of people restricted to environment, most of the people understood environment. That's why this ESG term is coined by the analyst community. I think it is so that people understand what is the entire gamut or entire spread of the entire exercise of this sustainability. So environment, social, and governance. So what happens if we don't do well? We all live in people who are living in Mumbai. I am also living in Mumbai. We all know the sea levels are rising, and experts have predicted after some maybe few years, 100 years, 50 years, so years, the sea level will rise to a certain extent that Mumbai will be submerged under water. Life possibly will not exist in this part of the world. So in case of London, so in case of Shanghai and other places, where it is adjacent to the coast of the sea, and this is all because of global temperature or warming of the global temperature. Well, so this is one thing can happen. Next, what can happen is, since places will be people will not be able to live in those places, so people will move to other places. So there will be a lot of pressure, there are a lot of refugees. So in those places, people will, for one job, there will be 10 people because 10 people have migrated. So there will not be enough job. Food will be scarcity, etc., etc., etc. All these things will happen. Droughts and floods. Well, both extremes. In some places there will be no rain, so it will be droughts. But there will be droughts. In some places there will be floods. So both extremes we can see in people places like Bangladesh, West Bengal, that area there are perennial floods. In some places there are droughts. So the both will exist, and this is again fallout of global warming. So these are the things that keep on happening if we don't take sustainability seriously. Heat waves. Well, people who are from Delhi knows about heat waves. I need not tell you. People in other parts of some parts of US are facing enormous heat waves. London has become so hot that people you can see queue in April, May month in the departmental stores of people buying fans, right? So so that's what heat wave can do. So some of my people who stays in London, they says life become very difficult in the summer. It is very difficult to stay in that place. So this will even further worsen if we are not careful. This at some point, who knows that people such places will be people will not be able to stay. It is devastating storms. Well, in US, you can see a lot of hurricanes, storms. India also faces the storms, erratic monsoons, food prices. I mean, some of the food since of this global warming, the temperature, the climate, etc. change. So production of foodstuffs, fruits and vegetables will decrease. So demand is there, supply being restricted. What happens? We are all students of economics. We know that food prices will go up. Coffee. Well, some coffee like Ethiopian coffee, etc. We may lose it on totality because of this. Because those coffee may not be raised because of the temperature and global warming concerns. So this is the pitfalls of sustainability. This is the pitfalls of our negligence. If we are not very careful, if we are not very careful, all these things will happen. So let me ask the question. Okay. So which of these are not ESG emissions? Anyone? CH4, H2O is water, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, sulfuric acid, and HFC. Well, let me give you the answer. Most of people will say H2O is not a GHG emission, but yes, H2O that's water is a GHG emission. Nitrogen is something which is not considered as GHG emission. If you emit nitrogen, it is not considered GHG emission. Other than that, all the gases that you emission and the water itself, water vapor itself, is considered as a GHG emission. So now I move on to my sorry. Now I move on to my trend 2. Okay. So the trend 2 says that what are types of emission? I mean, a lot of you who are students of this ESG or who are following various articles in the newspaper, we are watching various TV channels where discussion ESG is taking place. People will refer to scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. So what are those terms means? What is scope 1, what is scope 2, and what is scope 3? Let me explain you. Theoretically, emissions from sources that are owned or controlled by the company, that is scope 1. Well, a lot of you may think we don't understand. Fine. When I did, I also did not understand. So I will give you an example. Suppose you are a owner of a chemical plant. So what does the plant do? Plant has some input, it processes and produces some output. Okay. Suppose your plant produces say ethylene, which is a chemical compound from naphtha. You convert naphtha into ethylene and you sell in the market. Fantastic. So every process will need some heating, need some cooling, and need some processing. And heating, cooling, and processing will require fuels. Well, other than fuels, how will you generate heat? Okay. So when you are burning fuel for the process, it will generate some emissions. So there is no fuel in the earth except green hydrogen, which will not generate emissions. Okay. So when you are burning fuels, it will give some emissions. So when you are converting your product from inputs to final product, and during the conversion, whatever fuels you require for heating or other processes, and when this fuel generate emissions, it is called scope 1 emission because it is owned and controlled by the company. So why it is owned and controlled? The machine that generating emission is owned by the company. Why it is controlled? The moment the companies think of switching off the machine, the emission stops. So it is controlled by the company. So company controls. The company wants, if he wants to stop the emission, he can do by stopping production. But is it a choice? If all the companies stop production, what will happen? I mean, will not exist. Okay, right. That's different. But fact remains, it is controlled by the company. That's why it is scope 1 emission. Okay, what is scope 2? While, in our house, if we don't have electricity, we don't have life, right? So in a company also, when you manufacture goods, you need heat, you need electricity, you need steam, you need cooling water, you need raw water, you need compressor, a lot of utilities, including power. So while you are consuming power, well, no emission is generated. While you're consuming cooling water, no emission is generated. Okay, right from the cooling water or power itself. But when you're manufacturing or you're producing that power or you're producing that cooling water, emissions are generated. So it is generated in some other entity where it is manufactured. Maybe in your entity also, if you're manufacturing power, because when you're burning fuel, that will give emission. But in the process, it is not generating. It is generating somewhere else, and you are using the product. So it is an indirect control. Indirect. So it is called scope 2. So emissions from generation and purchase of electricity consumed. It is not only electricity, but any other utility consumed, like steam, power, cooling water, etc. It is all called scope 2. Scope 2 is not directly generated through the process, but it is generated out of power and other utilities that are being used in the process. And while manufacturing that utilities, whatever emission you generate, that is scope 2. Scope 3 is a very interesting concept. Suppose you are the owner of refinery and you manufacture, say, petrol, diesel, etc. What you will do? You will sell those petrol and diesel in the market. So now when you generate that petrol, produce that petrol, diesel, while producing, in the process itself you need some heat, and for that heat you have burned some fuel that gave emission. So what is that? I've explained. It's scope 1. While manufacturing those petrol and diesel, in the process you will need some electricity, power, steam, etc. So you will, while consuming that, when you consume that, or to generate such power and steam, you will need, so you must have created some emission, because power and steam is generated out of fuel, and burning fuel will give emission. That is scope 2. Scope 3 is when you produce the product and you sell the product to someone else. Like you sell suppose the product, you go to a fuel station and purchase petrol for your car. And when you run the car, that petrol itself will generate some emission, because you're running the car and petrol is being burned. So actually, this petrol is not burned by the company who is manufacturing. The petrol is done by user who has purchased the fuel and using it, purchased the product and using it. In that case, is scope 3. So scope 3 of a company means the emission generated by product, generated by the manufactured by the company outside the company's premises by a customer. It is scope 3. So then people can argue, yes, the scope 3 of a company can become scope 1 or scope 2 another company. That's fine. Yes, suppose the vehicle is used by retail chain, so it will be part of the scope 2 or scope 1 of retail chain. Correct. So there will be overlapping between scope 1 and scope 2 and scope 3. If you see the environment as a whole, that is correct. But if a company has to take responsibility, totality. That is from the generation, whatever emission he is doing, as well as if product is also emitting while usage, that responsibility has to also be taken by the company. That's why this concept of scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. If you go to this time BRSR, which is mandatory for top 1,000 entities for 2022-23, and a lot of companies, including our Reliance Industries, you will find that BRSR is already in public domain. It is in the website. So you will see, and you will see the as per requirement of BRSR, scope 1, scope 2 is mandatory, means the company is required to state the scope 1 and scope 2 of GHG emissions for 22-23. It is mandatory for these companies. But scope 3 is optional. I mean, it's a leadership indicator, means the company may choose to give or not to give. So scope 3 is also there. Scope 3 is required to be reported. But in the current year, for the 22-23 financial year, in the BRSR, scope 3 has been not mandatory. It's a leadership indicator, means it is optional. But very soon, I believe that everything will be mandatory. So people, I think big companies, everyone's are gearing up to give the scope 3 also. So am I clear with this? I hope I'm clear with scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. Next question. I mean, a general quiz. If someone has to ask you, I'll give you a simple example, a simple story. I mean, one of my friend, I mean, who is slightly younger to me, he and his wife, after the marriage of 2-3 years, they decided to travel to Europe, and they took a break, and they traveled in the length and breadth of Europe. I mean, for a month or so. So they decided they have generated enough money, and they thought, well, this is a time to enjoy. At a young age, we want to travel Europe. Fantastic. So when I think they were in Germany, and when they are in Germany and they were in a coffee shop, they met a German lady. So and they introduced themselves, she introduced herself, and they start chatting. And when the German lady came to know that they are from India and they have spent almost 15-20 days in Europe, and they intend to spend another 10-15 days in Europe and travel length and breadth of Europe. So the German lady told them, how can you be so selfish? So they were surprised. I mean, first of all, my friends said I did not understand what she's telling. maybe she's telling something. Well, the culture is different, the way of speaking is different. She tell, ma'am, can you just repeat? She said, yes. How can you be so selfish? So then my friend said, why you feel that you are selfish? He said, you came from all the way from India. You know how much emission has cost the flight that you have boarded and came to Europe, and you are moving in the Europe in in the flights. How much emission? You are so selfish. You are not thinking of the entire thing. And people like countries like India have to take responsibility. So my friend was very upset. He said, I had a fantastic tour, but this is the only time I really felt very bad. I felt, oh yes, we Indians have to do something. How can we be so selfish? And then I told him, my friend, don't worry. The story is slightly different. So I will tell you the story through numbers. This gives if you see the chart, it gives the intensity. Well, so if you can see China and India. China is almost brown. India is deep red, almost brown. It means that we are the highest emitting countries. Fine, fantastic. Yes, we are. We admit that we are the highest emitting countries. And you can see the Europe is somewhere under red. Africa is almost white. That is a beautiful place as far as emission is concerned. And then US is also on the red, etc., etc. But the fact remains, China, India has the highest intensity. You can see the color, the deepness of the color in China, India. Okay. So now you go to the right hand side where we give the ranking. The China, the emission is 10.67, US is 4.71, European India is 260, India is 2.44 billion. Well, so India, if you see by country, the India is the third largest emitter after China and US. That's fine. Yes, that we agree. So we emit a lot. Okay. But are we the villains? I mean, there's a different story to it, context to it. This is another story. Same world map, same intensity graph, and you can see India is orangish, and all the other countries, all the developed countries are deep red and brown. So what is this? Why is this contradiction? This slide actually shows the intensity per person. Okay, emission intensity per person. So in Australia, a single person generates 15.37 millions of GHG gases. Means if you take the total emission of Australia for the whole year and you divide it by the population of Australia, so for each population, for each person will generate 15.37 tons. United States 14.24 tons, South Africa 7.62, China 7.41, England, United Kingdom 4.85. World average across average of the world is 4.47 and India is 1.77, less than 2. I think it is now increasing with close to 2, but it's, I think 2020 data, it is around 1.77. It means per capita emission in India is in the very safe side. It is much lesser, almost half of the world average. And you cannot compare this with countries like Australia, United States, South Africa, China, United Kingdom, Europe, etc., etc. So is India the villain? The possible answer is no. Out of the population, we know that how much is Indian population now, and out of 8 billion population, you know how much of India's population now, India and China's population. So since the population high, our total emission ought to be high. I mean, this is rocket science. But if you see emission generated by each person of our country is significantly lower than these developed countries, because they need more heat during winter. They need in some cases where the heat is very much, they need air conditioner. They drive more. They give more. You consume more fuels, etc., etc., etc. So per capita emission of these countries are more. So that way, if you see, it's a fair statement to tell India is not doing very poorly. I mean, India has played very responsible roles in the past, because in our country, we have imbibed a culture where luxury was not given a predominance, at least in the past. But those countries, I think their life was full of luxury. So that's why their emission was, usage was more, their consumption was more, and their emission was also more. But on totality, India is third largest because our population is more. Okay. Out of 1.48 billion, our population is more than 1.4 billion. So our population is more. So I think I made it clear. Secondly, one more aspect I want to bring in. I mean, why is today the situation what is to, and how it has happened? In the past, in the pre-industrial era, so the target is our temperature should not rise beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade from the pre-industrialization era. So where does industries all start? we all know it's in Europe and it's in US. Okay. So when they started industries, what has happened? They have started using fuel more. They started emitting more, and the temperature went up increasing, and it is where it is today. Some experts say that 1.5 is non-manageable now. Today it is almost 1.2, 1.3. So I mean it is only a matter of time. We'll cross 1.5, maybe 1.6, 1.7, or 1.8 should be a new target. That is what people say. So, but we don't know. I cannot tell you certainty, but definitely we are coming slowly. We are coming close to 1.5, which is the target we have set. So if the industrialization wouldn't happen, which happened in those countries, possibly the global warming or the temperature wouldn't have reached where it is today. So I don't think India is too much responsible for that. I think a lot of responsibility taken for developed countries where everything started. Well, yes, industrialization has helped us. It has improved our life. At the same time, it has forced us to a place where it is today. So the second concept, the second trend is that I want to show you where India is. Yes, India is the third largest emitter, but per capita emission is very significantly low as compared to other countries like Australia, US, and Europe. So that way, I think India cannot be blamed. Third, people speak of hydrogen, and hydrogen is a buzzword today. And we all know that hydrogen is a savior. Hydrogen can be a savior. Sorry, hydrogen can be a savior, because if we have hydrogen, if we burn hydrogen, then there will be no emission. Okay, but that is actually wrong. There are various colors of hydrogen. You can see green, blue, gray, turquoise, brown, black, pink, and white. Well, actually, when we speak of hydrogen, we mainly speak of three colors. One is green hydrogen. Green hydrogen means a hydrogen that is a type which is produced in a chemical neutral manner. That means when you generate a hydrogen, and that hydrogen, while generating, has not produced any emission, or it is in a it's a climate neutral manner. Okay, not chemical. Sorry, my apologies. It's a climate neutral manner. So when hydrogen is generated, the climate is not harmed by any emission. It's a climate neutral. Because hydrogen per se, when you burn, it will not give any emission. But while generating that hydrogen, if you have generated emission or allowed emission to happen, then it's useless. No. So that's why it is called green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is that hydrogen which is the purest form of hydrogen, which is the best ideal situation wherein you produce hydrogen which is you produce it in a climate neutral manner. And so when you use that hydrogen, that will further not generate any emission. So your emission from burning of fuel practically goes off. But is such hydrogen available? Yes, it is available in R&D centers. In some places, people are trying to manufacture. But whether there is a technology, yes, there's technology. But whether it is viable, the answer is no. The cost of hydrogen is still far higher than other fuel, so people cannot afford. So industry cannot afford, common people cannot afford. But I can tell you, across the world, lot of impetus is there, lot of R&D is there, lot of research is going on to manufacture hydrogen at the cheapest cost. It is said that India is significantly into the research and production of green hydrogen, and possibly the prediction is India will lead the world and become the hydrogen capital of the whole world. That is again we have to see. But I think our Prime Minister, with the commitment of our Prime Minister and also the commitment of various industries, I think a lot of research and a lot of money and a lot of investments are there in hydrogen, and we all want to manufacture green hydrogen. Not only save India, we want to save whole world. Here is the place. Here is the time when India can actually play a leadership role as far as sustainability is concerned. Blue hydrogen is actually useless hydrogen, because I mean when you generate the blue hydrogen with blue hydrogen, it will emit emission. Then, but you have some method of absorbing that emission, or you can carbon capture, so that so that also it is climate neutral. But it generates, but you offset that or you absorb it, whatever be it. And then when you burn that hydrogen, again it will not generate any emission. But again, it's a difficult proposition. Black hydrogen is the worst form of hydrogen, that when you generate that hydrogen, you generate a lot of emissions, and that hydrogen is burnt, it will not give emission. But while generating the hydrogen, you are generating emission. What is the use of manufacturing hydrogen? So it is a worst from hydrogen. Okay, brown is from gasification, pink is from electrolysis, and white is for natural occurring underground. I mean that is not very important. So basically, remember, when you speak of color of hydrogen, the three most important colors are green, which is the ideal situation. Research across the world is going on. India is supposed to take a leadership position. India is all poised. That is what the experts are telling. They have become the hydrogen capital of the whole world. I hope it happens. It will be a very proud moment for us, for our country. And not only will save India, it will save the whole world. Blue hydrogen is hydrogen that while generating, that while manufacturing, it gives emission, but there is a system of offsetting it or carbon capture so that it is in climate neutral manner, it is generated in carbon neutral manner. And third is black hydrogen. I mean, well, you generate hydrogen, you give a lot of emissions. So I mean, it is no good. It does not help anyone. Fourth is our path to carbon neutrality. So you must have heard, India will become carbon neutral by 2070. A lot of corporates like Reliance have vowed to be carbon neutral by 2035. A lot of other corporates from 2050, 2060, a lot of countries are also had given a various dates. Now, what is this carbon neutral? It means that, whenever, whatever burning of fuel, on whatever processing you do, you will not harm the environment. That is, your process will be the impact of in the environment will be carbon neutral. You will not throw additional amount of carbon. So it does not mean you will not generate carbon. You can generate carbon, you can generate GHG gases, but you will be responsible citizens of the world to absorb that and use it or to offset it. Okay, so I'll explain everything. I'll explain the absorption of offset, etc. So in short, that there will be a neutrality maintained in the environment of your processes. So being a responsible citizen, if you attend that, so you can say, my home, my office, my company, my country are carbon neutral. So how do you reach the carbon neutrality? Like in Indian philosophy, it is said to attain moksha. There are many routes. There cannot be one route. So carbon neutrality, at least I can tell you six routes. So before that, I want to. There's an interesting concept of 4 R's, which we speak in the sustainability world. The first one is reduce. So if you want to make this world sustainable, you want to reduce. Reduce what? Reduce emission. So how do you reduce emission? There are a lot of new technologies being developed. If you use those new technologies, your emission will be lower. Suppose today you have a manufacturing plant and you have a system or you have a process for manufacturing fuel or for the process. Now, if you go for a higher technology, you upgrade the technology, so it will so happen that the emission will reduce, or the consumption of the fuel itself will reduce. So that will lead to lower emission. In that case, it is on the R. First, reduce. Second is reuse. In many chemical factories specifically, you can see that now output becomes input of other plant. So even the last strand of the output, which is actually a waste, it can be recycled to as an input. So what you are doing is, instead of buying fresh input and burning it, you are using the output. So you are limiting usage of a particular resource. If you limit use a particular resource, what will happen? The production of that usage will come down, that resource will come down, and if production comes down, the emission has to also come down, because less production would obviously lead to less emission. So reuse. So keep on reusing the entire thing. Like for our own personal things, there's a shirt that you wear. So if you have a habit of changing a shirt every 6 months, so you'll buy new shirt. So each new shirt will generate that, given some carbon emission. So you are actually contributing to that. So if you start using the shirt from maybe not for 10 years, 20 years, from 6 months to 1 year, so what will happen? Your number of shirts that you purchase will become less, and thus you will contribute in manufacturing less amount of shirts, because all of economy, demand, supply situation is always there, and you will contribute manufacturing less shirt, and so while manufacturing less shirt will definitely lead to less emissions. Recycle. So if you can recycle things, if you can make the output again back to input without getting a fresh inputs, like typical PET bottles. We all know the plastic bottles that use, but most of you don't know that these plastic bottles can be recycled. In our case, we Reliance Industries, we manufacture plastics. We are very responsible citizens, and you'll be glad to know that we recycle more than 2 billion plastic bottles every year. Yes, we have recycling plant. We recycle more than 2 billion plastic bottles. In fact, I would urge all of you to look at our annual report as well as the BRSR report, which are both in public domain. It is available on the website. You get a host of data. You will leave. I mean, those are eye-opening statements that you get in those the documents, and it will give you a very good idea of all the capitals, our initiatives, and what as a country, as a company, what kind of leadership position we are taking. It also further will give you, like if you go to the BRSR, it is just not data and numbers. It is also a lot of literature. We have used explained each of the terms. We have tried to give some concepts, some clarity. So when you go through the report, you will not only understand the numbers, but you will also understand the concepts. And if you don't have a clarity, we believe that it will throw a lot of light in your clarity. So please go ahead and look to our reports, and if you can give some feedback to us, I'll be more than happy to get the feedback. So that's the third recycle. So reduce, I've explained, reuse, I've explained, and third is recycle. And fourthly, remove. So if you are generating any emission, if you can remove those emission. So how we can do it? First is energy efficiency, which example is reduce, that you combine cycle gas turbine, new efficient standards, etc., etc. Reuse is renewable energy. You can use solar, you can wind, you can biogas. You must have read in the newspaper, I think a month back or so, 5 or 6, 3 or 4 large corporate house, including Reliance, has vowed to make investment in biogas, and they are setting up plants more than 7-8 places in each of those entities. So what is biogas? Biogas are those fuel which is generated from agricultural wastage. You must know that why one of the reason why there's smog in Delhi and Haryana, because they burn that agricultural waste. So instead of burning, if we can use those waste into biogas, what will happen is, first of all, the smog will reduce because it is no more burnt, and those waste will be used in manufacturing fuel, which is a green fuel, so which does not give any emission. Okay, right. So that's why biogas is very important. Low carbon fuels like hydrogen and nuclear. I spoke of hydrogen. Research is going on across the globe. So if we manufacture green hydrogen at a cheap, at an acceptable rate, acceptable price, I mean that the world will be thankful to those people who can do it actually. Carbon usage. So now we speak of carbon capture. Like there is a company in Switzerland who have developed a technology wherein they put a machinery across in somewhere around your plant. So whatever carbon you generated, they will absorb the carbon. But the challenge is what you will do with the carbon. You will put it under the ground on the deep in the soil. What you will do? So the challenge is not to only capture carbon, but to use the carbon. Whether you can make carbon as a value-added product. If you can do it, then I think that will be a great boon to the world, because then carbon will be used the input, carbon will be generated, that cost will suffice because that will be converted into output. So that will be considered input. So you can manufacture polymers, you can manufacture methanols, you can enhance oil recovery, etc. A lot of things are there. So carbon usage is very very important. Carbon capture. How do you carbon capture? There is direct air capture, carbon capture, stack, mobile. So there are a lot of technologies. I told you of a company in Switzerland which are doing it. I think in India, I think ONGC or Tata has put up a small plant of carbon capture. I mean, an R&D center or something like that. One of the top industrial houses has done in India. So I mean, this is only starting point. It's only baby step. I'm sure that I mean it will increase significantly in days to come. Okay, and carbon sinks. Forests. If you have forest, it will absorb carbon, the CH gases, and so if you absorb carbon, then it is actually you are saved, and the carbon will come down in the environment. But if you are technical standards are available, that each type of tree has a specific norms for absorption of carbon. So if you set up one tree and how much carbon you can absorb the whole tree, but whole year. But I can tell you that. If a large company of India, even top 100 companies, manufacturing of one of the top 100 company has to remove the total carbon by setting up forest, I mean, possibly whole of India has to be a forest. The area requirement is so large. So only carbon sink cannot do. Only energy efficiency cannot do. Only renewable energy cannot do. Only low carbon fuel cannot do. Only carbon extra capture cannot do. So what I will maintain my stand. That for moksha you have a lot of paths that can lead to moksha. Instead of net zero, also there are a lot of paths. Only one path of energy efficiency or renewable energy or carbon sink or carbon capture will not do. Possibly time has come. I think people have understood that we have to use one or more or many of these of these various methods to reach our net zero target. So with this, I move on to my carbon the neutrality. Second is life cycle assessment. Again, this is a new topic. It's a new topic in BRSR. It is not mandatory. It is a leadership indicator, means it's optional this year. Now let me tell you what is a life cycle assessment. So whenever you generate a product, just give me আমি সেশন আছে পরে কথা বলছি। Whenever you generate a product, so while generating that, we have told you because from direct fuels or direct fuels in the process or by steam or electricity, that will give some emission. And then this product is used by various people. At every stage of time, there will be some emission. So LCA is actually life cycle assessment. It measures the impact of environment associated with the life cycle of a product, process, or service. So if we are generating a product or a process or service during its lifetime, life cycle means if production till the destruction, which is called cradle to death. Okay, what is the amount of impact that it makes in the environment? So that is actually a life cycle assessment. It is very important we know the life cycle of our products. So in BRSR, it is this year, at least for 2023, it was optional, but possibly in future sometime it can become a mandatory. So I think a lot of people, a lot of companies have geared up. If you read our annual report, we have done our LCA study. I mean, normally in case of Reliance, we believe in taking leadership position. You please go to our annual report. You will find there is a spread, a 2-page spread or 2 or 3-page spread, wherein we had explained how our various products life cycle assessment, or how each of our products are contributing in impacting the environment, that we have explained. We have explained the process also. So this will give a fair get of idea, and we have done this exercise for up to 90% of all our products, okay, of the turnover. So up to 90% of turnover, the products that cover up to 90% of turnover, I think we have done the LCA and we have done to a reputed agency. So how it is done? Now let me tell you. Suppose if we have some people from the corporate side who want to do it, so let me throw some light on that. So it is a desktop study. There are agencies who are reputed, who are expertise in doing this. So you have to call those agencies. They will select your product. They will take the data, how much product to generate, what is how the products are used, etc., etc., etc. There are technical standards available, and based on the technical standards, they will produce a figure that or figures that will state that during the life of the product, how much emission or how much what impacted the environment while you in the life cycle of product. Okay. So again, there are various things. It is a cradle to grave. There's one technical term you'll always find. Cradle to grave means up from the time the product got generated till the product is under the grave. Grave means where it is destroyed. Most of the products, you must be aware that it does not get destroyed. Even in the shirt that you buy, ultimately you will wear it, then you will give to house helps. They will also wear it for some time, then they will use for some cloth, some purpose. Ultimately, the cloth does not get destroyed. It lands up in a pit. Every country has a lot of pits. So say I'm in Navi Mumbai. In this part of Mumbai, there's a place very close to in the fag end of Navi Mumbai, where there's a huge pit I have seen, where all this waste, which cannot be recycled, cannot be destroyed, are thrown in and is got under Mother Earth. So they extract the soil, which is used for other purposes, stones used for other purposes, and the pit that is opened, in those pits they fill up these products which cannot be destroyed. So this is how it happens. This technology is across the world, and every country has, every cities have this kind of places where products which cannot be destroyed are put in the pits. Otherwise, the endeavor is to recycle the product and use the outputs and use the waste so that even new products are generated. So some company take the responsibility, that is cradle to grave, that is from their point of generation to till the product is destroyed. Some take product cradle to factory. So I am a manufacturer. I manufacture a product. So the cradle is when the product is born. Till my factory gate, I will give the LCA amount emission. After the factory gate, I am not responsible. That is also stand taken by few companies. So there is a mandatory stand given in the BRSR. So you have to only state what is the system you use, whether cradle to grave or cradle to gate, etc., etc., etc. So there's a gate to gate also. You are purchasing a product and then you are selling it then from gate to gate. Well, this is what it is. So in short, this is my 7th trend. In short, if you have a product and from the point of generation till the destruction of a product, whatever impact those products have on environment is called the life cycle assessment, because this assessment measures the impacts of the environment, impact of the environment associated with the life cycle of a product, process, or service. Now I'll come to my 8th one, that is Meteority. Well, Meteority refers to those aspects of organization that are relevant or significant and which may be negative consequence if not managed correctly. Well, suppose if you're setting a plant in a city where the temperature is such, or the natural situation is such, environment such that people will not be able to live in sooner than later. So you will not set up a plant in those, because you know the future of the plant is bleak, because people will not be able to stay in that plant and stay in the city. So how will people work in the plant? So your investment is a bad investment. So you have to find out what are those aspects of the organization that are relevant or significant, which may have negative consequence or impact if not managed. For example, from the impact outwards perspective, your company should be measuring and reporting your greenhouse gas emission to consider impact to environment. Double material is in the outward impact, right? How much you are impacting the society. Well, suppose if you are setting up a plant and that plant is generating greenhouse gas, what is the impact of society? Because that greenhouse gas will lead to acid rain, and acid rain will do some harm to the crops, etc., etc. So that will be the impact. So if you set up a plant in area that gives to sulfur dioxide, so we call SOx and NOx, SOx is oxides of sulfur, oxide nitrous. So that will have some impact on the environment, and that will impact the people around. So that impact. So it is single. Till now we have been speaking of materiality. What the environment is creating a risk for the company, and double materiality is how the company is creating a risk for the environment. So in the both sides. So double materiality is now which is taken very seriously, because not only you can consider environmental risk, but companies itself is form or are seen as a risk from environment point of view, and whatever the entity generates, whatever nucleus process, and that may have some impact on the environment, and measuring that impact and stating that is actually the impact of double materiality. So if you see in our annual report also, we have explained the double materiality. I think it's a good read. I'll encourage you to have a look at it. It will give you a lot of idea how the environment is impacted by the companies. SDG, again, it is self-sustainable development goals. There are 17 goals which was formed to transform the whole world. It is adopted in 2015 as a universal call to the action to achieve peace and prosperity all the way 2030. So target by 2030. It is developed with the objective of having a sustainable and sustained and inclusive social economic growth, social inclusion, and environment protection. Well, that is the definition of SDG. It comprises of 7 sustainable development goals and 116 targets. So under each goal there are various targets, numerical targets, and with a targeted timeline of 2030. So all the target, the last timeline is 2030, that covered diverse topic from ending poverty to making partnership, etc. There are 5 key focus areas, and it's people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. So again, I'll repeat, there are 5 areas of focus. One is people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. So this is a very popularly called as 5 P's. So if you wrote it in, if you are reading an article and the author writes about 5 P's, don't get worried. This is those 5 P's: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. So remember these 5 P's: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. These are the targets. Well, I'll skip this because paucity of time, and I'll now move on to the 10th one. One of the, suppose if you are in the corporate side, and if you are involved in sustainability or ESG exercise, so and you are asked to decide which framework to follow. There are so many caliber of frameworks, and all are very reputed: GRI, IS, SB, Bloomberg, Revalue, and all these things. They're global rating agencies. Okay, and now in India we have also BRSR, which is mandatory for top 1,000 entities as based on market capitalization. So which are the framework to follow? So that are actually the real headache that you have. But I think our regulator has done a fantastic job by having a framework like BRSR, which is mandatory, and it is now top 1,000 entities for 22-23. But I think they have already given indications that it will, and they it will increase the bandwidth of the reach will increase from 1,000 to 1,500, 2,000, and then maybe 5,000 or 10,000 over a period of time. So more and more companies will form or come within the ambit of sustainability or BRSR. So means more and company have to be reporting the BRSR. So they have to be serious, because otherwise the numbers will show that how responsible those companies are. So if you have a headache, which of the framework to follow, and if you're the first year you may have the headache, But I can tell you that if you follow BRSR, it is a very comprehensive framework. Around 80 to 90% GRI is overlapped with BRSR. So if you want to start with the framework, I think BRSR is a fantastic framework. It's a framework by the Indian regulator, and I think we should go ahead with the BRSR. Another thing, sorry, just let me go to the previous slide. GRI. Now I've been speaking of GRI. GRI is a very important framework. So with the paucity of time, I'll not go too much into GRI. So this GRI is a framework which a lot of companies across the world has followed. So you can also go to GRI. So GRI, there are various GRI standards. You can go through them and follow. So I'll not go deep into GRI because it's a topic by itself, and if I start talking on GRI, I have to talk the whole day only on this subject. Better I talk on BRSR, integrated reporting, and BRSR, that I will do. So first of all, two few words on the BRSR. So BRSR, SEBI board has decided to introduce new requirements of sustainability by listed entities, business responsibility and sustainability report. That is what BRSR stands for, and it replaces BRR, business responsibility report. BRR was there for at least 8 to 10 years, and the only difference from BRR and BRSR, if I have to give in one line or one phrase, is that BRR, a lot of qualitative responses were required, and BRSR, it is all numerical as well as qualitative. So BRSR is a very good framework. It has 9 principles, and each of the, you can see the 9 principles on this on the screen. Business should conduct and govern themselves with integrity. Business should provide goods and services. Business should respect and promote the well-being of all employees. So this is covered. The employees are covered here. Then business should respect and interest of all responsible stakeholders. Again, here previously till 1980s, the concept was you only are responsible one stakeholder that provides capital. In 1980s, the economist came out with a term called stakeholder metrics. It means only the owners are not the stakeholders, only the providers of funds are not the stakeholders, the society, the customers, the creditors, the communities, the government, and employees, all are stakeholders. So the company need to look at all the stakeholders. So these are all fallout of the stakeholder metrics, which had started not very far away. Only in 1980 this concept was quoted. Before that, everyone believed, economists believed, that company is for the owners, the providers of funds, and the only objective of the company is to make profit and give the profit to the owners. But I think things went changed in 1980s when the stakeholder metrics came into picture. Then I think the principle 5, business should be respect and promote human rights. That is very important. Now we move to principle 6. That is, business should protect the respect and make efforts to protect and restore the environment. So 7, business when engaging in influencing public and regulatory policy should do so in a manner with responsible transparent. So if you have a company and you want to influence public and regulatory policy, you should do in transparent manner. Whatever suggestion you give to government and etc. So whatever you're doing, it should be in public domain. That is what this principle 7 means. Principle 8 is business should promote inclusive growth and equitable development. It is only not for the particular community, for the country, it's inclusive growth and equitable development. And 9 is business will engage with and provide value to consumers. Okay, you have to also take care of consumers. You have to take care of the supply chain, which is an earlier thing, and all the stakeholders. So if you follow these 9 principles, and each of the 9 principles have more than many questions, and total I think 114 questions are there. Some of the answers are qualitative, some of them are quantitative, and if you are submitting BRSR, then you have to answer all the things, all these questions. Okay. Out of those questions, there are some are mandatory in nature, which is called essential. Some are not mandatory in nature, which is called leadership, which is non-mandatory for 22-23. But it might so happen for the current year, 23-24, some of the non-mandatory can become mandatory. That is what the indications we're getting from the regulator and various forums. So so you for the current year, so you may have to report more than you have reported in the previous year. So that is the understanding we have. Secondly, also SEBI has told that, we all understand, we are all chartered accountants, we understand importance of audit, and we understand importance of assurance. we know until there's assurance, credibility is always a question mark. So SEBI also have come up with top 100 entities that that you have to get it audited. Core BR, certain of the aspects, certain of the numbers need to be assured before you can send it in public domain. It is not for 22-23, but it is from 23-24 onwards, and more companies will be brought in this ambit. That is what I understand. So I think here the chartered accountants stand a very big chance, very big opportunity. If we are serious, if we are ready to learn, and then I think our revenue stream and our future is ahead, is bright ahead of us. So these are all the principles. Well, I will not discuss further. So there are total 140 indicators. Out of that, essential indicators are 98, leadership is 42. Leadership indicators are those indicators which you need not, is not mandatory this year. Essential indicators are mandatory. As against 140, the number of indicators of BRR was only 43. So you can see around 300% increase as in terms of number of indicators from BRR and BRSR. So I can very proudly tell you that in RIL I have been leading the BRSR. It might so happen that we have come out, we have reported our published our BRSR this year, a few days back for 22-23, but actually we have been working for this BRSR since last 1.5 years. It's been a journey, and I am really proud of this journey, and this is one of those journeys I would always remember, even if I retire and out of this accounting world and out of the professional world, because this has taught me immensely in the field of sustainability. And you may be an expert in sustainability, but if you have to go and actually implement BRSR or get the data and report, get the assurance done and get report, so you have to be a person who will have to have a overall view of the company. Just because just being an expert you cannot do. You should understand the manufacturing process. You should understand the marketing of the company. You should understand strategy of the company. You should understand the technicalities of sustainability. If you know everything, then only you can actually lead this. Because BRSR does not mean only technical knowledge. It means you have to get information from the system, work with the existing people, learn from them, explain them the concepts, and ask them to give the answers, because you will not know the answers. A lot of answers only the people who are doing the work will know. So speak to them, explain them, teach them, and then learn from them. And then whatever you learn, you have to bring it into a platform, collect them, then you go to your assurance partner, who will assure it and get it audited, answer their queries, again go back to the owners, and then come back. So is there a lot of to and fro? There are a lot of new learnings, but which is difficult. But I think those of you who are in corporate and not yet have the opportunity of this journey, I request you to please embark on the journey. I mean, professionally, you will become rich. You will enrich. That's what I can assure you, and that's what happened to me. And I believe that it will happen to all of you who will embark on the journey of BRSR. This is my last set, last 10 minutes. Why it is important? You know that when this BRSR sustainability came, people felt only the people who understand the emission, etc., are owners of that, responsible for that. But now I think things have changed, because with ESG we know there are 3 distinct vertically: E for environment, S for social, G for governance. Now question is, well, there are people who are champions in environment, who are heading the environment team. There are people who are secretarial team, who are the doing governance leadership team. There are people who are leading the HSE, health and environment safety, and the philanthropy part of the organization. We're looking in the communities, we're looking in the government, etc. So now the question, there are various owners of this. Perfect, fine, yes, but who will lead this show? That was the big question. At some point in time, it was felt the people, emission is the most important thing. The people who are in emission will lead this show. Second, later it said, okay, governance. Well, the people in governance will lead this show. But now I think across the world, the understanding is, unfortunately, the CFO will lead this show, because the monkey is now sitting on the CFO's shoulder. So all the CFOs, all the budding CFOs who are in this call. So I mean, I don't want to threaten you, but I think it's a great honor and opportunity for you to have the monkey on your shoulder. I'll tell you why. If you are setting up a new plant, or if you're making investment, you will do the market feasibility, the commercial feasibility. You will do your discounting cash flow, etc., etc., etc. But at the same time, you need to find out what is the emission that you're going to add, and what is the impact in the environment that you're going to add, because emission and the environment impact will not only affect the organization in the reporting of ESG, but when you go in the market to get green bonds, well, you have problem. Your analyst and community will come and tell you you are not serious about your commitments. So your commitments are going haywire because of investment. You are answerable, and lot of impacts are there. So I think the CFO is responsible for funding. The CFO is responsible for speaking with meeting with analysts. I think it's better that monkey sits on CFO shoulder. More or less, it is now most of the companies, I think CFOs are taking care of this. So we chartered accountants, we aspire to become CFO. Most of us CFOs are chartered accountants, I believe. And so we have to take it seriously. So I'm telling all the young chartered accountants, time has come to put your hands up. Time has come to go into this. We have learned so many things. This subject is very much learnable. And I'm telling you, if you learn this subject, you will only enrich yourself. It will only help you to go up the corporate ladder. Today, if you see a balance sheet, I mean, I can tell you with BRSR and with the integrated annual report, our annual report is 500 pages. And the annual accounts pages are 100, 200 pages. Balance and all other corporate governance and other sustainability, BRSR, etc. there. My understanding is it is 50-50 today. 50% of financial data, 50% other than non-financial data. And my understanding is other people also believe, experts believe, the percentage of non-financial data will go up significantly. In that case, will a company go ahead and report non-financial data with the assurance? The answer is no. Today, does a company report financial data with the assurance? Answer is no. So the same thing will happen non-financial data. Who will assure? A person who has the competence. So it is onus is on us to develop the competence. If we have the competence, well, we'll have business, our revenue share will increase, and the world will be open to us. So I think financial and non-financial data, the ratio will be skewed very soon, and we have to take care not only financial, also non-financial data. So we have to be careful on that. CFO is the heart of sustainability agenda because I've told you that whatever sustainability you do, if CFO is not there, because CFO is the person who is responsible for injecting sustainability mindset across the organization. If you don't have sustainability mindset across the organization, from the lower to the upper level, you are a problem. It is only a paperwork. It is only a tick box requirement. So if you really want to make an impact, you have to have the sustainability mindset injected in the minds of everyone, from the lower level to the upper level. Whenever you take a decision, when you think of finance, commercial, marketing, sustainability is also something you need to decide, need to consider. If that understanding is not there, that mindset is not there, I have to say we have not reached our destination. It's an opportunity. Obviously, I explained it's an opportunity. So all young chartered accountants, this is definitely an opportunity. Go ahead with that. I am thankful to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for setting up courses like this, setting up webinar like this, which will open the minds of you. In this webinar, I don't expect you to learn all about sustainability, but I do expect that I have given you enough thoughts so that you can think and take whether CSC, this sustainability can be taken seriously or not. I don't intend to make you expert in 1.5 hour session, but what I want to tell you is I want to implant a thought in your mind that CSG is important. It is important for chartered accountants. It is great for the careers, and time has come when we invest some time in this field. With this, I think I have come. I'll come to the end of this. Time is. I want to respect everyone's time. So if any questions is there, I am more than happy to take the questions.
Hello, Rajka. Thank you so much. I think that was very insightful and very helpful. I had a couple of questions for you, but I think you covered more or less almost all points on the topic. But I'll start with one question I had. So over the years, you have been a part where the BRR reporting was a part, and now we've changed to the BRSR reporting. So how do you think has the evolution come off, and are there any major changes in reporting that the company is looking at today?
Actually, yes. I mean, you cannot compare BRR with BRSR. I mean, those are two different animals. BRSR is much more extensive. I mean, the quantum effort that you require for BRSR is humongous because you have to generate numbers. And BRR was more of qualitative. You have to give responses. It's only 40 and instead of not 140. And most of the 140 is like you have to give pinpointed answers like what is your and you have breakup for workmen, you have breakup for employees, you have all kind of breakup, all kind of data is there. So it becomes very difficult. Like I'll tell you something. The problem. We use SAP, which is I believe 70 to 80% of large corporates use SAP. That is what I understand. That is what I believe, and that's what I've been told. But SAP, apart from being so advanced, SAP does not give you emission data. You cannot record emission data in SAP. So it has to be done outside the system. Number one. Number two, SAP we capture. We have the most advanced SAP, we believe, and we capture water consumption. Okay, fine. But in BRR, we require source-wise water consumption, seawater, river water, water harvesting, etc. How much water you discharge and what treatment you do when discharging water. All this data you will not find in SAP. So basically, there is no system support. A lot of things. Most of the companies is doing outside system. In Reliance Industries, we are lucky. We have the support of management. We have built a system wherein data is extracted, data is uploaded, data is reviewed, and there's a timestamp for each of the data by the HODs. So we have the system, but most people, I believe, do not have people. But at one point, people have to move in because doing everything in Excel is like is not possible. You will end up making mistakes. So that is a journey from BRR to BRS. It's a journey, and I think people have to make.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you. The next question was basically now that ESG reporting is very much based on the premise of the UN SDGs. There are around 17 goals, which are further bifurcated into 169 objectives, like you said. So a lot of companies are focusing on probably 2 or 3 goals. Do you think there would be an industry-wise prioritized set of goals that an industry would have to focus on?
That might come. I think we're moving towards that. I mean, a lot of people are demanding that. I mean, see, it is very clear that all goals are not important for all organizations. Suppose you take a IT organization and you take a manufacturing organization, the goals will be very much different. IT will be more focus of human resource sort of thing. A manufacturer will go more. Obviously, human resource will be important for them, but they'll go to other things like emissions, water, NOx, etc. So both will be different. So I think it's a good way to have a industry sort of goals. Or okay, so that will definitely help bring a lot of uniformity in reporting.
Got it, sir. Thank you. So the next question was, how much do you think has been an evolution or a shift of the management and the tone of the management at the top level towards sustainability reporting over the last few years?
Well, I can tell you the proof of the pudding is in eating, right? I've been attending investors calls for last many years. 5 years back, none of the investors call people used to speak of sustainability or ESG. Now, or maybe one question toward the end, which is very insignificant, unimportant sort of question. But now we have at least 1 or 2 investor analysts call every month, and which is totally targeted on ESG. So you can see the importance. You see the CFO, CEO of the BlackRock who like open letter to all the CEOs. I mean, either it's an opportunity, either you take the opportunity, either you exist or you will lose this opportunity. So I think world leaders have taken it seriously. The CEOs have taken it seriously. So I mean, things are moving in the right direction.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So the next question was more from an assurance and an audit standpoint of view, where you also mentioned that it will be very similar to a financial audit. But given the fact that there are non-financial parameters that we are looking at, how do you quantify that data? And with BRSR, one of the objectives was to compare financials of other companies. With every company focusing on different goals and objectives, do you think financials are comparative?
See, the government has done a fantastic job by making XBRL mandatory. Yeah. XBRL actually makes uniformity of reporting, right? You have taxonomy and again taxonomy is reported, and the government can focus, and government has opportunity now slice and dice of data. Suppose government wants to see the emission, if all the companies are reporting XBRL, which the companies are bound to do because it's mandatory. So in one thing report, the government can get all the emission of all the companies. Well, and they can classify the companies by nature. Okay. So So government will have a lot of data, number one, because all this it is in digital format, XML format, it is easily accessible. So they can do slicing, dicing, and whatever reporting. And in the government side also, we have seen they have moved significantly up towards the digitization. So that is another plus point.
Correct.
I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
So guys, now we'll sort of move the tangent a little to chartered accountants and the role that CAs will play in this aspect. So firstly, so there was a recent report, I think a couple of days back, S&P used to report on the debt ratings of many companies. And recently, they removed the ESG part. And the reason was probably because ESG reports are not audited. Do you feel that they should be audited, and do you feel that this will be a big space for CAs in the next financial year or the years after that to come?
Thank you, Aman, for this question. In fact, I was facing this fact. I mean, I personally believe data without assurance has very little credibility. Okay. If you have so much data, even the leadership, the management of the companies would like to get it assured and then give it in market, because there are a lot of mistakes can crop up, and sometimes this can be very embarrassing. Okay. Similarly, government, if has to accept this data, they need to have this credibility. Otherwise, they will not be able to use this data. So I think some point of time, like the government has made a very humble beginning of code BRSR. This will only increase. And from leadership point of view also, if you see our annual report, although it was not mandatory for us, last 8 or 10 years, we have been giving the data assured, all the non-financial assured, and it is done by one of the big fours, and it is done by IAC 3000, which is one of the leading standards for this. So I think the corporates will definitely like to assure data. To get the assurance, we have to kind of partner. Whether a CA firm is a able partner, whether a CA firm is a competent partner, well, this is the answer we chartered accountants have to answer. But we can definitely become competent. We have definitely become able. For that, I think some hard work is required. You have to have people of multi-functions in your team, right? With multiple competencies. Only chartered accountants may not be able to give assurance. You need to have ESG experts. You need to have other technical people in your team. And as a team, I think it can be delivered. That is what my take is.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So I'll take some questions from the chat, and all the attendees, if you have any questions, you can post it out and we'll ask Raj sir about it. So one of the questions is how does a CA get an entry into an ESG role, whether it be on the industry side or on the consulting side?
I mean, this is one of my favorite questions, and I hear this question very frequently. In fact, the last session that I took in the seventh session we had in ICI, it was in JWC. I think a lot of young people ask me this question. Well, sir, you tell that it is for the chartered accountants. Future is there. You need to learn. How do we get into it? Can we walk into a ESG department of a company? Well, I think most of the company have rotating policies. Most of the company has a system where they allow people to learn. I can tell you my story. I've been the chief accounts officer of the company for of Reliance Industries, the largest company in India for market cap for profitability for a decade now. 6 months back, I've been put into the control roles, but more than that, 2 years back, suddenly I have been called by our leadership team and told me that you please take care of ESG. And at that point in time, I knew nothing of ESG. I only knew ESG stands for E, S, and G, as simple as that. So it's been a journey for me. And so if I can do it, and at my age I can do it, young people can do it definitely better. Today, I mean, they have new innovative ways of learning. Like if I might go to my daughter, she will not like to read a book. She will go to net, she will find some other things, and she will find out, and she knows much more than me in the topics, because she has the innovative way of learning. And I think youngsters are very smart. I mean, they can learn but the question is whether they get opportunity. I think yes, if you can learn, you can display that you have gained some knowledge, and you go to a leadership team. In Reliance, we give people opportunity. I think other companies also will definitely give opportunity.
Okay, sir. So just a follow up to just that question. What do you think are mediums to get to know more about this entire environment, because it's so new? The entire ESG environment, even companies are trying to figure out regulations and compliances. But for chartered accountants, what do you feel is are ways to learn more about ESG?
I mean, ICI, has come up with a good course. And this could have stopped. And the important thing is it's not stagnant. And every 1 year, I think the syllabus have been changed to make it more meaningful. So that is one way of doing it. There are a lot of colleges in India and abroad who are giving ESG as one of the course 1 year courses there. And you need not leave your job and do those courses. Some courses are part-time courses also. The knowledge is available. If you want to account, then there are other lot of LinkedIn, and then there are a lot of courses, Coursera, a lot of courses, other platforms, a lot of courses. The knowledge is there. It is at today's age, knowledge is not a problem. Knowledge is there. If you want to learn, you can learn.
Okay. So there's one question. This is more on a practical aspect. Are CA firms allowed to, or whether CA firms currently are certifying any data related to ESG?
I don't think there is a bar to that, but in fact, I have learned that a lot of CA firm are being asked or are requested or mandated to certify ESG data. This is where I would like to stop. I think there is no legal requirement. Only a certain profession or certain people can certify ESG data. That is what I believe.
Got it, sir. Okay. So I think we have covered more or less all the questions. So I'll just check once. Yes, I think we have covered all the questions. I think your presentation was very explanatory, so we are out of questions for now. So Raj sir, thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you so much for your wise words, and I'm sure there's a lot that we have gained from your experiences as well. And I'm sure we'll be able to better execute this at whatever fields we are into. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Aman. Thanks a lot for your moderation. Really loved it. Hope to see you more, and we'll keep on meeting. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Raj sir. Thank you for the wonderful session, and thank you, Amanji, for moderating the session so well. It is always nice to listen. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thanks to all the participants for
Thank you
joining
everyone
in.
for attending. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please connect to me. I'm available in LinkedIn. Please connect to me. We'll share. We have a lot of stories to share. I would love to interact with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this.
Thank you.